Hello students, in this session I will be taking up one poem. The title of the poem is The Ploughman and the poet's name is Khalil Gibran. You have read one poem in your pre-university by Khalil Gibran. Do you remember the title? It is on children. That was quite interesting. In that poem, he discusses about the conflicts between parents and children. In fact, he advises parents how they must bring up their children. He discusses this matter. In this poem, Khalil Gibran discusses one more serious topic. Before starting with the explanation of the poem, let us learn the meanings. Who is a ploughman? One who uses a plough is a ploughman. Who is a ploughman? One who uses a plough is a ploughman. What is a plough? Plough is a farming implement used to till land. Plough is a farming implement used to till land. What is tilling land? Tilling land is to prepare and use land for growing crops. The meaning of till is to prepare and use land for growing crops. So now you understood the meaning of ploughman. What's a plough? What is till? The title of the poem, the meaning, the poet, these things you understood. Now we will move on. This poem, The Ploughman, is didactic. The poem, The Ploughman, is didactic. The meaning of didactic: any poem, a story, a novel, a movie, a drama, any piece of work that intends to teach moral lesson is called didactic. Any poem, short story, or any form of literature that intends to teach a moral lesson is called didactic. In your childhood, you have listened or read stories from the Panchatantra. Those stories teach us moral lessons. They are didactic. So the poem The Ploughman is didactic. It teaches us moral lesson. It is a discourse. The poem is a discourse. What is the meaning of discourse? Discourse is a speech about a particular, usually serious subject. What is the meaning of discourse? It is a speech about a serious subject. The Ploughman is didactic, and in this poem, one serious subject is discussed. What is that serious subject discussed? The following themes are discussed. The following themes are discussed. First one is meaning and importance of work. Second one is work ethics. Third one is selflessness. And fourth one is dignity of labor. The poem, The Ploughman, is a discourse, and these themes are discussed in the poem. Meaning and importance of work, work ethics, selflessness, dignity of labor. What is the background of this poem? Who is the speaker? What is the context? In what context does the speaker deliver this sermon? Sermon. What is the meaning of sermon? Before telling you the meaning of sermon, let us know the context or situation in which this sermon is delivered. Al-Mustafa is the speaker. Who is the speaker of the poem? Al-Mustafa is the speaker of the poem. Who are the listeners? The plowman and others. Who are the listeners? The plowman and others are the listeners. Al-Mustafa stayed at Arfalis. Arfalis is the name of a place. He stayed there for a few years. Before returning to his native, a group of people stopped him. Before returning to his native, a group of people stop him and they want to learn, seek something from him. That group comprises the plowman and others. In response to a question posed by the plowman, Al-Mustafa delivers this sermon. Now, the meaning of sermon: a talk on a religious or moral subject. The meaning of sermon is a talk on a religious or moral subject. All these are moral subjects: meaning and importance of work, work ethics, selflessness, dignity of labor. All these are serious topics. What question does the plowman pose, which prompts Al-Mustafa to deliver this sermon? The poem, dear students, you remember that we will be sending the poem in the form of a PDF, and when you watch this video, please keep that poem open. As I read, you to follow that, and this explanation will help you understand the poem in a very clear manner. The poem begins with a question. Who is asking the question? The plowman is asking the question. Let us see what question he poses. Now you know the background, the context. The plowman, then a plowman said, "Speak to us of work." This is the thing that the plowman wants to seek from Al-Mustafa. Who is Al-Mustafa? Al-Mustafa is a learned scholar. He is a learned scholar, Al-Mustafa. People want to learn, know from him what is work. This is the meaning and importance of work. This, when the plowman poses him a question to tell them about work, this prompts Al-Mustafa to deliver this sermon. In reply to the query by the plowman, he delivers this sermon as an answer. And he answered saying, he. Who does he refer to? He refers to Al-Mustafa. Who approached Al-Mustafa to know what work is? The plowman. You remember the pattern of the question paper. Part A comprises literary component, and in that you have 2 marks questions. I told you 2 marks questions may be answered in 2 or 3 sentences. Also, depending on the question and what it asks, you can write the answer in a word or a phrase or a sentence as required. For example, if a question is asked like this: who approached Al-Mustafa to know about work? The plowman. Like that. What did the plowman wanted to know from Al-Mustafa? The meaning and importance of work. Like that. So questions may be posed like this, and you can answer accordingly, whatever is sufficient, a word, a phrase or a sentence as required. And he answered saying, he discusses in detail the meaning and importance of work. He says like this: you work that you may keep pace with the earth and the soul of the earth. So he tells, you work that you may keep pace with the earth and the soul of the earth. Keep pace with the earth and the soul of the earth. See, when he talks about keeping pace with the earth and the soul of the earth, keep pace with. So one should keep pace with earth and the soul of the earth. What does it mean? See, there are two things, two terms. Before telling you the meaning of that, I will tell you two terms and their meanings. One is live, another is exist. Live and exist. Before understanding the meaning of keeping pace with the earth and the soul of the earth, let us understand the meaning of these two terms. Live. Obviously there is difference between live and exist. When you live, see, when we breathe, when we are breathing, it indicates that we are alive. That is living. But when we drop deep into the meaning of the word live, we live, we learn, we become sympathetic, we learn empathy, we experience joys and sorrows, we try to understand other people, we try to make our life meaningful and purposeful. All these things mean we live. On the other hand, exist. We exist, we eat, we sleep, just we exist, that's all. We do nothing that is fruitful, useful, meaningful. That's the difference between live and exist. If you have to live, then you have to do many things. This is God's gift. Life is God's gift to us. We should make the best use of this gift. So we should live. Why should we work? We should work because we have to make our life meaningful and purposeful. That is the meaning of keep pace with the earth and the soul of the earth. See, earth is not just a planet, it has life. So we should treat earth with deference. Difference is with respect. So we should treat nature with difference. So nature keeps changing. Many things happen in nature. To keep pace with the changes, we should adapt ourselves to these changes. We too should continue to live. We too should continue to live, and for that we should work. Again, remember, work is earning livelihood. What is work? Work is any activity that you indulge in. It may be physical or mental activity that you indulge in, and primarily the objective is to earn a livelihood, to earn money. We need money to satisfy our basic necessities. We need money. We have to work to live. That is one thing. But when you work with passion, you like something very much. For example, I like teaching. It's my passion. I teach because I like. It is not only because I should earn a livelihood. Your passion may be music. You learn music. You want to become a singer. You want to become a dancer. You want to become a cine artist. That is your passion. That is the meaning of live. So, I believe you got the difference, you understood the difference. So, why should we work? To keep pace with the earth and the soul of the earth. Again, a question for a possible question for 2 marks. Why must one work according to Al-Mustafa? One must work according to Al-Mustafa, one must work to keep pace with her and the soul of the earth. That is, we have to live, not just exist. We have to of course exist, live, both, like that. That is the meaning of you work that you may keep pace with the earth and the soul of the earth. Why should one must work according to Al-Mustafa? To keep pace with earth and the soul of the earth. That is, we should live, we should exist, live and make our life meaningful. That is why we must work. For to be idle is to become a stranger unto the seasons and to step out of life's procession that marches in majesty and proud submission towards the infinite. For to be idle, to be active, the opposite is idle. Idle is lazy. The meaning of idle is lazy. Be passive. One more synonym is passive. What will happen if you are idle? According to Al-Mustafa, we must work because we have to keep pace with earth and the soul of the earth. That is, we should live to make our life meaningful and purposeful. On the other hand, if you are idle, what will happen? Idle, as I told you, the meaning is being lazy. Indolent is a synonym, idle. What happens if a person is idle? If you are idle, you become strangers unto seasons. You become a stranger to the seasons. That is one thing. Then, and step out of life's procession. Step out of life's procession and proud submission towards the infinite. And here infinite refers to the Almighty, that is God. What are the effects of being idle, lazy? If you don't work, you become stranger to the seasons. See, in the previous sentence, what does Al-Mustafa say? We should work. We should work to live. Live is not just earning livelihood, as I told you. We should be empathetic, sympathetic, respond to others' joys and sorrows. We should contribute in our own way to the society. All these things make our life meaningful, our existence meaningful. If you do not work, then you become stranger to the seasons. You become stranger to the seasons, you become isolated. You become isolated. You will not adapt yourselves to the changes in nature. If you have to live, continue to live, you have to adapt to the changes of nature. You must be very sensitive. You must be very sensitive, observe nature, learn lessons from it, and you have to continue to live with nature. Otherwise, you become insensitive and isolated. You become separated from the rest of the world. That is the first impact of being idle. Your life becomes meaningless, in other words. Step out of life's procession. Procession. Life is compared to procession. A comparison is made. You remember there are figures of speech in English language. These figures of speech are used especially in poetry, to make the meaning clear and distinct. Figures of speech are literary devices used to make your ideas clear and distinct. And life is compared to a procession. Life is compared to a procession. When a comparison is made, the figure of speech used is simile. When a comparison is made, the figure of speech is used simile. For example, if I say, these curds are as white as the clouds. These curds are as white as the clouds. What are the two things compared here? Curds and clouds. Curds and clouds. These two are different objects. Two different things are compared to draw a similarity. What is the similarity between these two things? White, the color. Using a simile, this comparison is made to make the idea very clear and distinct. And in this context, life is compared to a procession. But without, see, I used these curds are as white as clouds. I used as. But here, as is not used. In a simile, as, like, either of these two words is used. But here, without using these two words, a comparison is made. Such figure of speech is called metaphor. Such figure of speech is called metaphor. Without using as and like, as or like, if you make a comparison between two different things to draw a similarity, that becomes metaphor. Metaphor is also called implied simile. If I say, he is a tiger when angry, tiger and that person are compared to draw a similarity that they become, how angry is he? Like a tiger. He is a tiger when angry, like that. So, without using as and like. So, here also without using as and like, life is compared to a procession. Procession, you know, man is the crown of creation. Man is the crown of creation because he can think, he is intellectual, he has evolved. He has evolved. There is growth and development. So, he can speak, he has these unique abilities. He can speak, laugh, think. When compared to all other animals, man is the most evolved, and therefore he is the crown of the creation. And this is a procession. All the creatures are moving forward. It's a procession. So, life is a procession. What does Al-Mustafa imply with this comparison? He implies life should move forward, growth and development. There must be growth and development. Procession moves forward. Similarly, we should also move forward. In other words, we must grow, develop. This is living. When we live, in the true sense of the word, we grow, we develop. We contribute in our own way to the society. So, if you do not work, you become strange. You become a stranger to nature. You become isolated. You will miss your place in the procession. You become isolated from all other beings. That is the second effect of being idle or lazy. And next one is too proud and proud submission towards the infinite. See, what is the final goal of human being? The life, what is our final goal in life? God realization or attaining moksha. God realization or attaining moksha. See, if you work, if you live your life in a meaningful manner, eventually we can attain moksha. Then what is attaining moksha? there is this karmic cycle. You take birth, you die, again you are reborn, you die. Like this, there is a cycle that is called karmic cycle. Why is it called karmic cycle? In this life, whatever deeds we do will have its own effect in the next birth. If you do good deeds now, your life will be peaceful, happy in the next birth. Otherwise, it becomes miserable, like that. So, finally, to be emancipated, released from this karmic cycle is called moksha. That is called God realization, to attain moksha. So, if you do not work, if you are lazy, idle, then you cannot attain God realization. So, these are the impacts of being lazy, the effects of being lazy. You become stranger to the seasons, you miss your place in the life's procession, which indicates growth and development, and you can never attain God realization. So, now you understood how important work is. In the beginning I told you, Al-Mustafa delivers a discourse, or rather he delivers a sermon. He talks about a moral subject, he talks about a serious subject, that is importance of work.